We'll create a gradient for the text frame that is just missing off the top of the page on the left hand side here. So I'm going to pick up my zoom tool and get a good clear view of that text frame. And by the side of my color, my swatches panel as well. Now, in order to create a gradient, we need to go to the window menu, down to color, and then open up the gradient panel. And I'll move that to the side as well. Switch to my selection tool and then click on the text frame. So it is completely possible to have a text frame, and then rather than having to create a shape behind it in the form of a box, you can just change the color of the background of the text frame, saving you a little bit more time. I'm going to create the gradient and then we'll tweak the appearance of the text afterwards. So I'm going to go to my color panel and just make sure that the fill color is at the front. If you do notice that the stroke color is in front of the fill icon, hover over the upper left edge of the fill icon and left click, and that will make it active. And then you can hover over the thumbnail for the black and white gradient, which is an Adobe default. When you left click on that, it'll give us an exact replica of what we see here, which is white on the left and black on the right hand side. So first of all, we need to change the angle. If I swipe over the value there and type in 90 and press return, we get black at the top now and white down at the bottom. You can click on any one of these two squares at the bottom. So any gradient always has at least two colors in, and these are called color stops. Once you left click on them, providing you have the color panel available on screen, then you can either sample a color from in here, and that will change that particular part of the gradient, or you could specify an exact color. Now in our case, we wish to use the light red or the dark red that we've made in a previous video. This is a little more tricky because if you just hover over and left click on one of those swatches, it will remove the gradient and replace it with the light red swatch that I've just clicked on. Edit, undo swatch. What you'll have to do is click on the color that you wish and hold down on it and drag that up and onto, if you can, the little square for the color stop, and then let go of the mouse. Again, we can do the same with the black and we can replace that. If I take my cursor and hover over dark red, click and hold down the mouse and then drag that up. It may find that sometimes you don't quite replace the existing color and you add the color in there. So we now have three color stops. That's not a problem. All that we have to do is click on the color stop you don't wish to have and then click and hold down the mouse and drag and pull that away from the bar, and that deletes it. Click and drag, and I can move my gradient so I've got dark at the top and light at the bottom. If I wish to change that, I can click on reverse, so it's darker at the bottom, lighter at the top, and you can then use these two color stops to control the balance of power. So if I wanted to have slightly more light red, I could click on that and drag it towards the left hand side, and that will force any color to the right hand side of this color stop to be the light red, and then the transition between the two will happen over a smaller area. In terms of the object, well, that just pushes the light red further down and it transitions much, much shorter over a distance. Again, if I drag that too close, you'll get a very harsh transition, so we don't want that. I'm going to drag that back to around about the middle, and in fact, here under location, it tells us as a percentage that it's around about in the middle. If I click on the color stop on the left-hand side, that's at a location of 0%. And then any color stop that you click on, say for example over on the far right hand side, that's set to 100. So I'll just move that back towards the middle and we're good to go with that one. If you want to save that, right click and then choose add to swatches. Again, you can double left click on the name and call this red gradient and click OK. Unfortunately, InDesign will not remember the angle value once you've saved it. So you'll notice in here, now that we've saved it, it actually applies it to the object and it sets the angle back to 0. So do just swipe over that, type in 90 and press return, and then click away from your object.